This time will come to order. Please give your attention to the emergency evacuation procedures.
Before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
This time, if you please register your presence by voting yes.
Okay, you have 18 present, 3 absent, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Commissioner Akard sends his regrets. He had a scheduling conflict. Mr. Clerk, if you please read the call for the special call meeting.
Call for a special meeting of the Blount County Board of Commissioners to be held in room 430 at the Blount County Courthouse, Court Street, Maryville, Tennessee, on Tuesday, October 14, 2014, at 5:30 p.m. Pursuant to and in accordance with the authority vested in me by Tennessee Code Annotated, Section 5-5-105, I hereby call the Board of County Commissioners of Blount County, Tennessee, to meet in special session on the 14th day of October, 2014, 5:30 p.m. to consider and act upon the following. 1. Determination of type of financing for county's E3B debt.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Is there any input, public input on the refinancing of the E3B bond issue? Seeing no hands, we'll move on. The chair will stand for a motion on the refunding of the E3B bond issue.
I make a motion that we ask the, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Samples, you're recognized.
Thanks, sir. I would make a motion that we ask our finance director to research the possibility and options that we might have regarding fixed rate financing.
The motion is not in order because it's asking for a presentation that we just had. We have 4 options before us.
I'll withdraw the motion.
Commissioner Lewis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we pursue the fixed rate option for the refinancing of the debt.
Second.
Okay, is there a preference to 3A or 3B? We can't vote on both of them.
My proposal would be 3B.
Motion is to prepare a bond resolution using option 3B for the refunding of the E3B bond issue. Is there a second? I believe I heard Commissioner Carver. You're still good with that, Commissioner Carver? The motion is to prepare a bond resolution using option 3B to refund the E3B bond issue. Discussion. Commissioner French, you're recognized, sir.
Would it be appropriate to add at this time, Mr. Chairman, that we direct this to the full commission, whatever decision, direct it to the full commission for November?
For no. You're making a motion to amend.
To amend.
Placing. I don't understand. Say it again.
The motion that was presented by Mr. Lewis, if it is approved, to forward it to the full commission, the full meeting, November meeting, commission meeting, for approval.
Okay, there's a motion to amend to place the item on the November commission meeting agenda. Is there a second? Second. Okay, Stinnett. Discussion on the motion to amend. You be recognized, Mr. French, on your motion. Discussion. Commissioner Samples, you're recognized.
Thank you. What's the purpose of that? This is the full commission. This is a county commission called meeting, so why are we moving it to November? That could have been done in a work session. This is not a work session, correct?
That is correct. It's a call meeting.
This is a call meeting. We can pass it here.
Let me recognize Mr. Vineyard on this, on the timing of this
Okay.
issue.
If I understand the motion, whatever, if you vote for the motion for option 3B, we have to bring a resolution back to the commission that reflects that, and also the letter from the state approving the financing, and then you have to vote on that. So if I understand the amendment, it would be your action today would automatically go to the November agenda for approval of that resolution.
Okay, I did not
Clear on
understand
that,
that.
Mr. Samples?
Pardon me?
You're clear on that?
Yes.
Commissioner Farmer, do you have a question on the motion to amend?
Yeah, in line with that, why do we need to amend if that's going to have to happen anyway? And furthermore, what if we don't get it back by November? We're going to end up postponing it again, correct?
Mr. Vineyard?
Well, depending on the action here, the state's obligated by statute to respond back in 15 days. But we can't do anything till we have their letter.
So in essence,
Mr. Farmer, do you have another question, sir?
if I didn't, I wouldn't be asking.
Well, ask the question.
So in essence, we are dealing with a motion to amend, which is going to put us at the same place whether we pass the motion to amend or not. It's going to be November before we can handle this, correct, sir?
November would be the earliest we can handle.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cole, you're recognized.
I didn't want to get in on the discussion of this. I was trying to get in on the discussion of the previous. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion on the motion to amend to clarify where this item is going? Commissioner Stinnett, you're recognized.
The reason I second that motion was because there's a lot of variables that can occur within 3B. And I would like to be able to see what the rate is and the number of years and the whole financial package before I vote for this. That's the reason I voted second the motion.
Anyone else on the motion to amend? Commissioner Monroe, you're recognized on the motion to amend.
Okay, this may go to the main motion, but since it was brought up on the amend motion, we were told that we had to have their approval for the balloon indebtedness, but do we actually have to have their approval just for the straight fixed rate that has no balloon payment attached to it?
Mr. Vineyard, you're recognized.
Lauren Lowe from PFM can give you a little more clarity on that.
Yes, for any refinancing, a true refunding of an existing piece of debt, the state does have to provide an approval letter before you vote on a resolution. The balloon indebtedness reference to my presentation from last week is a new law, and it's a new approval process. So the refunding approval process has been in place and was a part of the previous package that we went to the state last year for a refunding.
So any option requires their approval?
Except option 1.
Okay.
Commissioner Cole, do you request, you turned your light off or on? Are the members ready for the question? The pending motion is to amend the main motion, placing the resolution when prepared on the November commission meeting agenda. Vote yes. Commissioner Kaler, you're recognized.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. Just for a point of clarification on my part, no matter which way we vote on this, the outcome is going to be the same. It's going to be on the November agenda. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. This clarifies, the motion to amend is clarifying on which agenda this item is going.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Monroe, you're recognized for the second time.
Since this would be an appropriation, wouldn't it have to go through the budget committee before it would come to the commission?
No,
Why not?
does not require it.
Well, why not? Rule 9 says that anything that, that is a addition to the annual budget shall be submitted in the following manner, and 9A says it has to go to the Budget and Finance Committee.
We're dealing with it in a special call meeting, and if we have, if it carries, it'll go straight to the full commission meeting in November, the bond resolution.
That doesn't have anything to do with it being a special called meeting doesn't waive the requirement for a budget appropriation to go through the budget committee.
Mr. Vineyard, you're recognized.
Technically, the action you're being asked to take is not a direct appropriation of money. You are being asked to select a financing option, and then it would ultimately down the road get to an appropriation when the budget is submitted to you for approval or consideration.
Commissioner Carver, you're recognized.
I do have one question.
Ask question.
I didn't get to finish.
Having that presented in November, is that enough time for you to have everything put together?
Mr. Vineyard, you're recognized.
We think so.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lewis.
Just clarification back to Commissioner Kaler's question. The answer would be yes. As long as the finance director can gather all that information, it would be on the agenda for November. Given that he couldn't get all the information together and we had a motion that it had to be in November, then we would have an issue simply because we couldn't bring it back in time to gather all that information. So that's the only risk in having the November deadline, is that if for some reason you're not able to put all that information together and have it by that meeting, then you've created an issue there. So all things being equal, that should be on the November agenda.
Commissioner Monroe, you're recognized.
I understand we're not voting on a actual resolution, but if we're going to put something together with a resolution, that resolution would have to go through the budget committee. So if we're going to do anything, we should send it to the budget committee first. So that's
The
my
pending motion. Mr. Vineyard, do you wish to be recognized?
The refinancing option that's being proposed would not have an impact on the current year budget.
The pending motion is to place the resolution on the November commission agenda. It's amending the main motion. Vote yes to amend the motion, vote no not to amend.
You have 10 yeses and 8 noes.
10 yes, 8 no. The motion fails. The motion is to prepare a bond resolution using option 3B to refund the E3B bond issue. Discussion. Commissioner Monroe, you recognize.
That was just on from a while ago, I guess. Sorry. We're back on
The
the main.
amendment, we're on the main motion.
We're on the main motion. Okay. I do have a question about the interest. On page, actually, I guess it was in our packet, not on this. Let me find that. Page 19. Those total interest costs, those aren't actually the amount of interest we'll pay, correct? That is the interest as a result of them being issued as premium bonds, correct? And could you give us the interest, the projected interest rate, the projected interest amount that we will actually pay in terms of interest rather than using the premium bond amount?
Would you identify, other than page number, the schedule you're looking at, please? Because ours aren't numbered the same way.
Okay, memorandum of on options. It was the clarification about the fixed rate financing. That 10,141 is actually the premium bond, correct? That the amount of interest we would pay would be around 6 million something. Could you give us the exact, what your estimate is?
So just to make sure I'm responsive to your question, you're referring to the total interest cost in option 3B of $10,141,000?
That's the
Right,
all-in
and-
cost. That's the all-in cost.
That's the total interest cost estimate for that option. And can you restate
Yeah.
your question, please?
Okay, that is if it is sold as a premium bond. How much is the actual real interest cost rather than the premium bond? How much are we going to actually pay in interest?
That is the actual interest cost. The way
And a
premium bonds work,
Right.
that you borrow less money, and so it's an inverse relation to each other. So meaning you pay less, you borrow less money in return for a premium bond structure, meaning the investor pays you more than $1 today to receive $1 in the future.
Okay, how much is our net interest?
On option 3B,
Right,
net of what?
net interest cost.
I'm not sure. Let me see
Be
if I
more
have
specific.
on option 3B. One second.
Okay, well, on page 27, you have total interest of 10.14 million, rough, I'm rounding, and net interest of 6.404. There's not an explanation in here of how premium bonds work, so the commission needs to be clear on how much we're actually paying. The way these premium bonds work, it causes the interest amount that you're paying to look substantially higher than what it actually does because it transfers some of the principal to the interest line for accounting purposes. So
Can I direct you to two different pages that will give you an answer that I think would be helpful?
Yes.
If you look on, and I'm not sure how your pages are numbered, but it's part of the memo. It's on the second page, just for an example of 3A. We're going to start with 3A, the proportional structure. It's labeled Bond Summary Statistics, page number 2. Total debt service, principal and interest. So that's all inclusive of everything that you will pay back. $37.8 million. Do you see that number about halfway through the page?
yeah, yes.
So not just focusing on interest and not just focusing on principal, but total debt service, principal plus interest, 37.8.
But that's not what I asked.
Can I, one
Go
second,
ahead.
let me just finish this and then we'll go back.
Let's cut off the dialogue and go through the chair. I let it go on a little bit because we're trying to get information. The points being made are good. So go ahead and continue, Ms. Lowe.
If you turn to the same report for option 3B, which is, it's labeled just the same thing, Bond Summary Statistics, page 2. The total debt service halfway through the page, $32.7 million, principal plus interest. So the difference is option 3B comparative to 3A is approximately $5 million in total debt service. That is consistent with the information in the memo, which is a comparison of 15 million in interest comparative to 10 million interest, a $5 million difference.
Commissioner Monroe. Go.
Okay, bottom line, we're not actually paying 10.141 in interest. Direct you to the bond proceeds number, 26.386 million. The principal amount is 20,165,000, and then it's estimated that the swap right now is about 5.7 million. So that only comes up to about 25.9 million. Then I understand you got some fees, but why is that at least $400,000 roughly more than the cost to terminate the swap and the 20,165,000? Why would we be borrowing more? Why are we issuing bonds for $400,000 more?
Ms. Lowe, you're recognized.
You also have to borrow 5.67 million for a swap termination payment.
And I state.
So 20,165,000 plus 5.67 million.
26 million. So why is it 26,386?
Ms. Lowe.
You sell those bonds at a premium. The component associated with paying off the bonds, not the termination payment. Taxable bonds are sold at par, meaning your coupon and your yield are the same. The portion attributed to the bonds, the underlying bonds, are sold at the market consists of a premium structure right now, meaning 5% coupons with a lower yield or a lower interest cost, which generates a premium.
Okay, how much is that premium?
It is estimated on option 3B, $3.8 million, which is on page 1 of the sources and uses of option 3B.
Commissioner Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have, I guess, a couple of short questions for Mr. Vineyard.
Ask your question, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vineyard. As you are our financial director, could I ask your personal opinion as to which option you would recommend? And I'm not trying to hold your feet to the fire, however, I do respect your opinion.
Mr. Vineyard, you're recognized.
I support the motion.
Thank you. That was question one. If I may ask just one other short question.
Ask a question,
Could you
sir.
please give us a short synopsis on the timetable that we need on this, Mr. Vineyard?
Mr. Vineyard, you're recognized.
The process we went through a year ago was slightly different. We started the RFP process. I made the determination on the front end it probably wasn't feasible to look at a fixed rate option even though it was considered. So we started the RFP process in June. We gave 3 weeks, I think, for the responses. We brought the resolution to this body in September, and we closed on the transaction in December.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cole, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for Mr. Vineyard.
Ask a question, sir.
Option 3A versus 3B. 3A amortization schedule more closely reflects what we currently already are set up with. My understanding is 3B would, I guess, stress the county more upfront, trying to meet that levelized schedule. Is that correct?
Mr. Vineyard.
That's a fair representation.
Mr. Cole.
Thank you.
Are the members ready for the question? The pending motion is to prepare a bond resolution using option 3B to refund the E3B bond issue. Vote yes to prepare the bond resolution. Vote no not to prepare.
You have 16 yeses and 2 noes.
16 yes, 2 noes. The motion is carried. Pursuant to TCA 55105B2, we are adjourned.